Whether you're a Dynasty team making a run at the championship this year, or maybe you're rebuilding and looking ahead to next year, I've got 8 players I think can help in either scenario. I'm going to break down why a contender should trade for these players or why a rebuilder should look to trade them away. And then I'm going to show you some real trades for each players that have been made in real Dynasty leagues recently so you can get an idea of what it might take to either go out and get them or what you can expect to get in return if you're going to try to get rid of them. Hey, before I get to those players, let me remind you, this is the perfect time to try Underdog Fantasy because they're going to give all new customers this Russell Wilson special on Sunday Night Football. Just needs to go higher than half a yard. You take that free pick, pair it with any other pick or picks you like, and you could potentially 20x your money. Not only that, you can 20x Underdog's money because when you join now using promo code ENDGAME, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Take the free money, put it on the Russell Wilson pick, pair it with any other pick or picks you like, and potentially 20x it. Let's start a quarterback, and the first player I want to talk about is Sam Howell. So let's talk about him from the perspective of a contender who needs a quarterback going out and getting Sam Howell. Well, number one, he's been good for fantasy purposes. He's got upside as your potential QB2 in a Superflex league, or maybe even your QB1 if you're hurting at the position. Also, he's still young, and there is still a chance he could be the starter next year, so it's not like you're just throwing this away, going out and getting like a Jake Browning or a Joe Flacco, who certainly is not going to have a job next year. Now, what about for a rebuilding team who has Sam Howell? You think he's a young quarterback. Why would I want to trade him away? Well, I think he's a great sell high, and here's why. Yes, he's been good in fantasy, but he hasn't always been good in real life. We can't say that his job is secure all the way through next year or beyond. Not to mention, there's probably going to be a new coaching staff here. We already know there's new ownership. There's no guarantee that they are all in on Sam Howell. Therefore, this is a good time to trade him away to a team who needs a quarterback to make that championship run. Let's look at some recent Sam Howell trades that I would absolutely do that I think really benefit both teams. And you look at this trade right here, Sam Howell for a 2024 first and a 2024 fourth. If you can get a first for Sam Howell right now, do it. And look, if you're desperate in a 2QB Superflex league and you got to trade your late first to make a championship run, that's worth it. I also love this one right here. Sam Howell and Taysom Hill, a perfect combo for a team that doesn't have a tight end and really needs a quarterback. And the rebuilding team gets Joe Burrow, who's still a stud quarterback, has many more elite years left. And then there's this one here, Sam Howell for Josh Downs and Chase Brown. This is what I'm talking about. Go give a contender, Sam Howell, a young QB who can help them win a championship. Get a young wide receiver like Josh Downs back, who I really like, and a young running back like Chase Brown, who's got upside. See what these guys can do for you next year. Again, this is a win-win. Now, another quarterback that I think is a great win-win for teams either contending or rebuilding is Jared Goff. We know he's a solid QB2 in fantasy with QB1 upside. He's locked in as a starter for the Lions, but he makes sense for both teams. If you're a contender and you need a quarterback, look, you're getting a starting quarterback who has upside, and he's still relatively young at 30 years old. If you're the rebuilding team, I talked about it, he's going to be entering his 30s next year, which is okay for QB, but as a rebuilding team, we want someone younger, and we'd like somebody with more upside. Jared Goff is good, but he's not a guy you want to lean on every week as your QB1. All right, now let's look at some recent Jared Goff trades that I also think are win-wins. And I love this one right here. Jared Goff for Deshaun Watson and a 4th round pick. I mean, a 4th round pick, okay, whatever. It's kind of a throw-in. But give me Deshaun Watson if I'm a rebuilding team. He's younger. He has more upside. Yeah, he has more risk, but that's what you got to do when you're a rebuilding team. And of course, if you're contending right now, Deshaun Watson's not scoring you any points, so Jared Goff makes sense. Or what about this one right here? Jared Goff for Tank Dell. This is how you do it if you're a rebuilding team. You say, hey, you need Jared Goff to go win a championship. You don't want to part with Tank Dell, but if that's what it takes, you're going to do it. Go try to win the Dynasty Championship. And as a rebuilder, go get a young potential stud wide receiver. And then I'm always good trading a quarterback like Jared Goff for a 1st round pick. Sure, it's going to be a later first, but what are you expecting here with a quarterback like Jared Goff? Go give somebody Jared Goff. Let him go try to make a run. Take that 1st round pick. It's a deep quarterback class this year. Maybe you get your Goff replacement. All right, let's move on to running back now, and I think DeAndre Swift is a great piece to have whether you're contending or rebuilding. Let's look at it from the contender's point of view. First of all, he's still young. He doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. This isn't a guy you got to worry about being a rental for the next 3 weeks and then potentially having no role next year. Not to mention, he has a fantastic playoff schedule. I know he's been bad the last 2 games, but he could be great in your fantasy playoffs and help you win a championship. Now, if you're a rebuilder, you might look at it and be like, why would I want to trade a young running back like DeAndre Swift? Well, first of all, he he's got an uncertain future. He is not under contract right now. Will the Eagles bring him back? Will they franchise tag him? Will he walk? As we saw with a guy like Miles Sanders, this doesn't always work out. Also, he's never been a workhorse running back in his career. We don't know if that's ever going to be the case for him. So I think this is a great time to sell high on DeAndre Swift if you're rebuilding. And let's take a look at some recent DeAndre Swift trades. And again, I'm going to say, if you can get a first for DeAndre Swift, take it. Go ahead, give that contender a running back like DeAndre Swift. Take that late first round pick. Draft a running back this year if you want. Draft a wide receiver. I like this for both sides. I also like this one for both sides. DeAndre Swift and a future third for Rashee Rice. Look, if you're a team making a run and you're deep at wide receiver, you don't need Rashee Rice this year. Go ahead and move him. Get that running back that can help you win. And if you're a rebuilding team, I love Rashee Rice. He looks like the guy there in Kansas City. Should only get better. Love this trade for both sides. And then I love this trade here. DeAndre Swift and Dusty Ezekiel Elliott for Drake London. If the team with Drake London is trying to make a run, maybe they don't view him as a wide receiver that can help them now, but Drake London is a great player. I would love to have him on a rebuilding team, and the team contending gets 2 running backs that can help them this year. Now, another running back I think is a great target for both sides is Chuba Hubbard, because this is a guy getting all the volume in Carolina. He's at least a solid RB2 rest of the season, but he makes sense for both sides. If you're a contender, I talked about it. He can help you as a plug-and-play RB2. Maybe that's the missing piece. You lost your RB2. He can help you get over the top this year. And he's still a young running back, so it's not like you have to worry about him being irrelevant next year. Now, if you're a rebuilding team, it makes sense to get rid of him because remember, Miles Sanders is still under contract at least through next year, if not longer. And it's hard to see a path for this offense getting significantly better anytime soon. So this is a good time to move off of Chuba Hubbard if you're going through a rebuild. And I would happily move Chuba Hubbard for a second round pick right now. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty with Chuba Hubbard. If a team trying to win a championship just needs that RB2, go ahead, take a pick in next year's draft. Win-win here. I also really like this one here. Chuba Hubbard for Dontavian Wicks and a third round pick. Chuba Hubbard, again, can help teams right now. Dontavian Wicks may have a high ankle sprain. You're getting a third round pick. He showed a little something as a rookie. There's potential here. Take the young player with potential and the pick. Give Chuba Hubbard to the team trying to win. This, again, could be a win-win. And I love this one right here. If you could trade Chuba Hubbard and get Jordan Addison, this is a great deal because the team, again, they might need that high floor RB2 in their lineup to go win a championship. Jordan Addison looked great this year, and then Kirk Cousins got hurt. We don't know about Kirk Cousins' future, but I still like Jordan Addison enough long-term to go ahead and take a chance on this one. All right, let's move on to wide receiver now, and I think Marquise Brown is a great player for both sides to either trade for or trade away. When we look at this from the view of a contender, he's still young, so you don't have to worry about, again, like this isn't trading for like DeAndre Hopkins where next year he could be complete toast. He's still young, he's still a good player, and if he can get healthy, he has a great playoff schedule this year. He could absolutely help you win a championship. And if you're a rebuilder, you might be thinking like, why am I going to trade a young, wide receiver like Hollywood Brown in his prime? Well, he also has an uncertain future. He's not under contract next year. Will it be the Cardinals? Will they let him walk? We don't know. And even if he does stay with the Cardinals, they could very likely draft a wide receiver like a Marvin Harrison type in the draft. So there's no guarantee that he's the number one wide receiver in Arizona heading into next year. And when we look at some trades for him, Marquise Brown and Tommy DeVito for Nico Collins. Again, just get younger at wide receiver here if you're a rebuilding team. Don't worry about the fact you might not have Nico here. Give a team that maybe needs a quarterback like Tommy DeVito because they're desperate and a wide receiver like Hollywood Brown that can help them win now. This is a good win-win trade. I also like this one here, Marquise Brown and Darnell Washington for a future first. Now it's a 2025 first, but still it's a first round pick. You don't know if the team that's going out trying to win a championship this year is going to make a run again next year. This could be a good first round pick. Darnell Washington really feels like a throw-in. So you give the team that's trying to win Hollywood Brown and you get a first round pick, win-win. And then I really like this one too, Marquise Brown for Jaden Reed. Again, if you're a contending team right now, Marquise Brown could absolutely put your team over the top if he's healthy. And Jaden Reed, a young wide receiver, makes sense for the rebuilding team. All right, now another wide receiver I think makes sense for both teams is Courtland Sutton. This guy has just been a touchdown machine, but he makes a lot of sense for both contenders and rebuilders to either go get or go get off. He's still not old by wide receiver standards, so you don't have to worry about him being complete dust next year. And he has quite possibly the best playoff schedule of any wide receiver, so he can absolutely be great and help you win a championship. If you're a rebuilder, he's going to be 29 next year, which isn't old for wide receivers. He could still have 2, maybe 3 good years left, but not really what you want for a rebuilding team. Also, can we trust him to score this many touchdowns again next year? This feels like a good time to sell high. And I'm going to say, if you can flip Courtland Sutton and your 3rd round pick for a 1st round pick this year, I like this trade for both sides. It's probably going to be a late first. You're getting Courtland Sutton, go make a run at the championship, but at least the team rebuilding gets a 1st round pick in return. I like this one here for both sides as well. Courtland Sutton for Christian Kirk and a 4th round pick this year. 4th round pick, okay, maybe you hit, maybe you don't. But you're getting a younger wide receiver in Christian Kirk who can help you next year. And of course, the team trying to contend can't get any help from Christian Kirk this year, gets a Kirk replacement to go help him win a championship. Then again, love this one too. Courtland Sutton for Josh Downs. If you're a rebuilding team, get the younger wide receiver who I think is going to be great and has a lot of potential. And if you're a contender, get the wide receiver who can help you win a championship right now. All right, let's finish up with tight end. And I think right now, Evan Ingram makes sense, again, for contenders and rebuilders. So when we look at this from the view of the contender, with the injuries in Jacksonville right now, this guy looks like a top 10, if not better, tight end rest of the season that can absolutely help you win a championship. Also, he's not too old yet, still not quite 30 years old, so you don't have to worry about him being completely irrelevant next year. Then if you're a rebuilder, I just talked about it. He's going to be 30 next year. Not the kiss of death, but not really the kind of tight end you want on a rebuilding team. Also, Christian Kirk likely healthy next year. A lot of mouths to feed here. Now feels like a good time to sell Evan Ingram if you're a rebuilder. And I would happily trade Evan Ingram for a 2nd round pick. Sure, it's going to be a late second, but take the pick if you don't need Evan Ingram this year and give somebody a tight end that can help him win the championship. I would also be more than happy to gamble on Kyle Pitts if I'm a rebuilding team. Trade an older tight end who's more productive now that can help a team win a championship. Get the young potential of Kyle Pitts. Again, love this trade, win-win. And I love this trade too. Evan Ingram for Michael Mayer and a 2nd round pick. Yeah, it's going to be a late second, but you get Michael Mayer. Remember, he was a good tight end prospect. He's still young, can help your rebuilding team, and Evan Ingram can help a contender right now. And then finally, I'm going to recommend George Kittle again as either a buy or a sell for contenders and rebuilders. Let's look at it from the point of view of a contender first. We know this guy has weak winning upside for teams who need a tight end. And sure, he's getting up there in age, but we can feel pretty good about him for at least the next year as a strong tight end play. If you're a rebuilding team, I just talked about it. He's going to be 31 next year. Not really the tight end you want to rebuild around. Also, lots of mouths to feed in this offense. He's going to be very volatile. Now is a great time to sell high. And when we look at trades for George Kittle, I absolutely love this one right here. George Kittle for Mark Andrews. Look, I would take Mark Andrews over George Kittle. But if you need to win a championship right now, Mark Andrews isn't going to win you a championship. George Kittle can help you win this year, and Mark Andrews, a great tight end to have for a rebuilding team as he's younger than George Kittle. I also like this one, George Kittle for a 1st. Again, it's going to be a late 1st probably because the team getting George Kittle is about to go make a championship run. But if you're a rebuilding team and you could trade a 31-year-old tight end and get a 1st round pick, I think that's a win-win. And then I absolutely love this trade right here. George Kittle and Amari Cooper for Garrett Wilson. A tight end and a wide receiver that can help somebody win a championship right now. Amari Cooper looks pretty good with Joe Flacco. And the rebuilding team gets a stud wide receiver that can help them win multiple championships potentially. Love this trade for both sides. The best part about Dynasty is that it never ends. So go out there, take advantage, make some trades that can help you win a championship this year or that could set you up for next year and beyond.